and communion. This January sermon series has been all about what it means to be the church and understand who we are and who we are together. That each of us should be able to say, when I'm asked, who are you? That I'm called and I'm commissioned by God for community and communion. That ought to get a good conversation going. This morning I'm going to review the first three, where we have some people in the sanctuary who were not with us in those other 3 weeks. I was going to have the congregation explain it to you, but I'll take that forward now. But remember, these 4 C's are all on the final exam, so you're going to be paying attention. What's the first C?
Called.
Called, exactly. The whole church, the name church, comes from the Greek ecclesia, which means called out. We would not be here this morning if in some way or through someone God didn't call us to a place of being together. It is God who chooses us. We don't choose God. God calls, and then yes, we're asked to respond, and we can choose to say yes or we can say no. God speaks first, and we turn and now are asked to travel in a different direction. I can't think of a single character in Scriptures who was not called by the voice of God. Somehow, through someone, some way, sometime, they heard in the midst of their own prayer or life, or even in the community that was worshiping, somehow God was saying something to them. And it is common every time that somebody hears that call upon their lives. It begins with words of fear and trepidation. There's always a confession of inadequacy and reluctance. And even after you say yes to the call of God, that doesn't mean, because we learn it through the use of the call, that God knows that we have doubts still. God knows that we still have questions. God knows we're still confused. But in part, that's why He's called us to travel together. It is God who has called us. Look at the stories that we have just in the New Testament at the beginning, the call of the disciples. Jesus one day goes down to the Lake of Galilee. There he sees some fishermen, Peter, James, and John, and all he says is, "Come and follow me." And it says they immediately dropped their nets and followed him. Now, you have to wonder why they did that. Was fishing rotten that season? Were they mad at Dad, who was a lousy business person, who wouldn't allow them to have more ownership and shares of this company? What was it was going on that all of a sudden they dropped everything and followed? We don't know, but that is the story of letting go and following. That's how we begin. Or as it is told in the Gospel of John, what does one of the disciples who's been called do? Well, they go find somebody else. And they say to them, "Come and see. We think we have found the Lord." Somebody in your life called you. Some voice came and spoke to you. We sing that favorite hymn, "Here I am, Lord." What is it? I've heard your voice calling in the night. Who shall go? I will go. I will hold your people in my heart. Being the church was never our idea. It was God's idea from the beginning. It is God who loved us long before we even knew that word existed. And it is a love that is everlasting. It is eternal. And there is nothing that you can do to stop God from loving you. You've been called. But secondly, you've been
commissioned.
There we go. You're quick studies. God, yes, calls us into the waters of baptism, and then lifting us out of those waters says to us, "I have a task for you that only you can fulfill." But it's not about you. It's about how that gift gets worked out in this body we call the church. All these other people who have heard voices, heard people calling them to something new and exciting and possible in this world, in a life together. Yes, each and every one of us has a part to play. A unique and special gift of the Spirit to gather be the living body of Christ. And so on that second week, we spoke about the priesthood of all believers. In our Protestant tradition, Martin Luther said we have to get rid of the hierarchy in the church and get it down to where the people are and recognize that we don't have clerical power at the top and just the people at the bottom. We took away the words of the ordained and laity. There are no laity in the Presbyterian Church. All of you are ministers. There's not one minister. All of you are. And you have to discern what is, together, what is the gift that you have, again, to bring to this table of redeeming and healing and mending the world. We went through the list that Paul has for descriptions of who we need to come forward. We need prophets, he said. We need teachers. We need encouragers. We need givers. We need leaders. We need those who know how to do compassion well. We need deacons. We need ruling elders. We need teaching elders. Again, all at the same equal level with each other. Just different tasks to which we've been called. Working, loving, serving, and sharing as one people in the one body of God. And then we turn to number 3, where we have a goal for why we're commissioned. We have a vision. We have something out in the future we know is coming towards us all the time. And we will get there, and we call it the beloved community of God. God's peace and justice will come on earth. It begins within the church, working that way in our local communities, and yes, even to the ends of the world. You might remember that morning I asked you to find a partner. We get in the conversation and we looked hopefully at each other's eyes and we said, what it means for me to view you as a created in the image of God. We did that with each other. What does it mean to me to say that you are created in the image of God? Then we had the second question. Remember what it was? This is a bonus question.
How do I ask that out?
How do I see Jesus in the least among us? It was that story. Lord, when did we see you? And see you hungry and give you bread? And so we have to understand that these are the two ingredients to become the beloved community. To see the image of God created in each other here, but also in the world. And secondly, to know that we can see Jesus in the least, in the last, and the lost among us, right now, today. And if we respond to both of those affirmations, we are doing the work of building a beloved community of God. Well, this morning we come to our final C, and that is communion. Being the church, we get to eat together once in a while in this room. It's one of the perks of being a Christian. Jesus gave us this gift so that we would remember, interesting word, not remember history, but to be remembered into the body of Christ. In other words, in this table, we remember that we are being remembered in our part to play in the larger body of Christ. And so we have a common loaf, common cup, common table, and one Lord for each and all of us. Jesus, we know, loved to eat and to break bread with friends and with strangers, all kinds of people, even those who would get him in a lot of trouble. And then he gave us a meal to share. He told us to place a table in the room and get together once in a while and make sure it's filled with delicious bread for all, and a cup filled to the brim, because you never know. You might need to serve 4,000 plus men and women and children.
You've got a cell phone call here.
We need a live squad.
We need 911 here. Anybody got a phone? Yep. Anybody got a telephone?
Yes, we're getting it.
We got it.
Somebody's having a problem, 911.
I'll go outside.
Oh, here. Come here.
I'll bring it right over here.
Tarpon Springs, Church on the Bayou. Yes, Tarpon Springs, Church on the Bayou. We have someone that's collapsed at church during service. Address.
409 Wickham.
409 Whitcomb.
Boulevard, it's got the big cross on it.
409 Whitcomb Boulevard,
Cross on the...
Tarpon Springs.
Sharon.
I'm calling from my cell, so it's not protected. 678-641-1089. In the church sanctuary itself. Please hurry. Someone's collapsed during service.